casually explained. Why humans need validatio? I have $100 of self-worth. Not anymore? You don't. Poof. Before we get into it, you need to understand something very important about humans. We are basically walking social Wi-Fi routers that only work when someone, somewhere, taps like. And if nobody does, well, suddenly we start questioning our entire existence, career choices, haircut, personality, and whether that one awkward thing we said in 2016 is still legally binding. So yeah, today we're talking about why humans need validation. And no, it's not just because we're attention seekers or approval-addicted NPCs. Although, sure, sometimes it does look like that from the outside. But if you zoom out a bit, the whole thing starts to look less like people are cringe and more like a deeply wired psychological system built on attachment trauma, emotional survival strategies, and a childhood subscription plan where love was either premium only or came with ads. Let's start at the beginning. The original software installation, childhood. Every human is basically born with a basic operating system. Please keep me alive and don't drop me. But very quickly, that OS starts downloading additional modules from the environment, mostly from parents or caregivers. This is where things like validation needs, emotional safety, and identity formation get installed. Now, in an ideal world, caregivers have something called parental attunement, which is basically emotional Wi-Fi syncing. You feel something, they notice it, and respond appropriately. Crying gets comfort, effort gets encouragement, existence gets acknowledged. But in the real world, sometimes that attunement fails. Not always in a dramatic movie villain narcissistic parenting way. Sometimes it's just emotional neglect. Sometimes it's workaholism. Sometimes it's chronic stress. Sometimes it's family dysfunction, where everyone is physically present but emotionally on airplane mode. And sometimes, yes, it's narcissistic parenting, where love is conditional, like, you are good when you perform well. You are acceptable when you behave correctly. You are valuable when you reflect well on the family image. So instead of unconditional connection, the child gets conditional love, criticism, and judgment in parenting, or emotional invalidation that quietly teaches. Your feelings are not useful information, and this is where the fun begins. The birth of the validation economy. Every child has a validation need. It's not optional. It's not a personality trait. It's literally how identity gets built. Because when a kid hears, "You did great, I'm proud of you. That was kind of you. You matter," they slowly construct a stable self-concept. But when that is missing, inconsistent, or replaced with emotional deprivation in childhood, something else forms instead. Shame. Not "I did something wrong" shame, but core shame identity, the kind that quietly says, "I am wrong." And that's where things start branching into two very interesting survival strategies. Route A, the invisible child build. Some kids respond to emotional neglect and attachment trauma by basically uninstalling their emotional needs. If expressing needs leads to rejection, punishment, or emotional abandonment, the brain goes, "Okay, new strategy. We have no needs." This is where you get invisible child syndrome. They become self-sufficient, quiet, low maintenance. The perfect doll child role. The kid who doesn't ask for anything, doesn't make demands, doesn't cause problems, doesn't exist emotionally in any noticeable way. From the outside, they look easy. Internally, they are running on emotional suppression, avoidance of needs expression, self-abandonment, chronic insecurity, relational trauma patterns. And later in life, when they try to express themselves, everything breaks. Because suddenly, "I have needs" conflicts with "I am safe" only when I have no needs. So they feel guilt for being human, which is a bit inconvenient. Route B, the validation black hole build. Other kids go the opposite direction. If attention is scarce, unpredictable, or only comes through emotional chaos, the brain learns. Okay, we secure survival through attention-seeking behavior. Not because they're bad or manipulative, but because attention equals connection, and connection equals survival. So they develop approval-seeking behavior, hypervalidation-seeking, compulsive reassurance-seeking, and a kind of external validation dependency that looks like, if I can just get someone to notice me, I exist. This becomes a full approval addiction loop. And because shame is still underneath everything, no amount of validation ever fully works. It's like trying to fill a leaking bucket labeled, "Low self-worth, but please confirm I'm fine." So the person keeps escalating. People-pleasing behavior, over-adaptation to others, fear of rejection, fear of disapproval, relational insecurity, social validation dependence, and occasionally, maladaptive attention-seeking behaviors show up too. Not because someone is trying to be difficult, but because the nervous system is basically going, any response is better than emotional invisibility. The family systems DLC pack. Now it gets more complicated. Because family systems roles also kick in. In many dysfunctional families, children are assigned roles like hero child achiever, perfectionism in childhood, invisible child, comedian, approval through humor, scapegoat, blamed for everything. So, identity formation gets disrupted before it even stabilizes. One child learns, I am valuable because I perform. Another learns, I am valuable because I disappear. Another learns, I am valuable because I entertain. And none of these are actually stable identities. They're just survival masks. So later in life, you get identity confusion, loss of self-concept, and this weird feeling of, I don't actually know who I am without other people reacting to me, which is slightly inconvenient in adulthood. The shame engine. At the center of all of this is shame-based motivation. Not motivation like, I want to grow, but motivation like, I need to not be rejected. That distinction is everything. Because when behavior is driven by shame, you get performance-based validation loops, achievement-based self-worth, perfectionism in childhood, external locus of identity, social performance identity. So life becomes a constant internal performance review where other people are the managers and you are somehow always under probation. And even when things go well, the nervous system doesn't update because it's not tracking success. It's tracking safety. The modern update, social media expansion pack. And then, just when this system was already fully installed, humanity invented social media, which is basically, congratulations, your validation needs are now quantifiable. Now instead of, did my parents notice me? It's, how many likes did I get? Did they reply fast enough? Did I get left on read? Did my existence pass the algorithm test? So, external validation dependency becomes industrialized, and suddenly every human is running a background process called, am I socially approved right now? Which is healthy. The big trap. The problem is not that humans seek validation. The problem is when validation becomes the only source of self-worth, because then authenticity gets suppressed. Interpersonal boundaries get weak. Relational burnout increases. Internalized criticism dominates. Emotional dependency forms. Self-worth externalization takes over. And now your entire identity is basically outsourced to other people's reactions. Which sounds efficient, until you realize other people are inconsistent, distracted, and also running their own broken validation software. So nobody is actually qualified to be your identity manager. The actual joke. So, when someone says, why are people so attention-seeking? The answer is, because at some point in development, attention was the only available proof of existence. And when someone says, why do people need approval so much? The answer is, because somewhere along the line, approval got mixed up with safety, identity, and love. And now the brain is just doing its job badly, but consistently. The ending bit where we pretend there's a solution. Technically, the healthy outcome is internal validation, building a stable sense of self that doesn't collapse when someone doesn't reply to your message in 0.7 seconds. But also, let's be honest, nobody fully escapes this. We just get slightly better at noticing it. The real upgrade is going from, I need everyone to approve of me so I can exist, to, some people will approve of me, some won't, and I'm still here anyway. Which is less dramatic, but significantly more functional. Anyway, if you enjoyed this breakdown of human psychological software bugs, attachment trauma, and the universal quest to not feel emotionally invisible, like, subscribe, and validate my existence in the comments. Because ironically, I also need it. And I'm not even pretending I don't.